Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This video, we're looking at the NBA slate for tonight. We have a two-gamer starting in just about 90 minutes, so I'm going to run through the picks pretty quickly. Apologies for the late video, but at least it's better late than never. So, looking at the point guard plays today, we have Trae Young at $9,300. He's at home in this one. He's been playing great this series. Last game struggled a little bit with his three-point ball, 1 of 7, 6 of 16 from the floor, but still had 43 fantasy points on a pretty down game. He's basically, his floor is at least 40, I would say. His upside is into the 60s. And he's going to be playing like 38 to 40 minutes. So you got to like Trae Young. I think Chris Paul looks a little bit better just in terms of salary. He is $7,100. Looks like the shoulder injury has almost healed completely. He has looked like himself the past few games. And one way you can tell is that he's making his 3 points, his 3-point field goal attempts, and he's shooting those threes. He wasn't shooting many threes in the Lakers series, and the ones that he was shooting, he was coming up way short. This series, he's been knocking down the threes. He's 4 of 5 in his shots from 3 so far this series, and the assists are there, the rebounds are going to be there, the points have been there. We've seen him take over the fourth quarter, especially in that game 1, so I have to go with Chris Paul to start out at point guard. Other guys that look somewhat appealing are Bogdanovic at $6,400, Austin Rivers just because he's super cheap, and then maybe if you think Shake Milton gets a lot of minutes, or gets at least some run again off the bench. He definitely will get some run. I don't know if he will become as... I don't know if they will just take Maxey out of the rotation for him, but Milton, made 4 or 5 from 3, still just finished with 21. You're going to need him to do something like that again to hit value. Over at shooting guard, if I was going with the value play at shooting guard, I would side with like Rivers just because the minutes are going to be there. It was a big blowout last game, so he only played 25, but he's normally going to be playing like at least 30, 35 minutes. He's out there for his defense, and they have Devin Booker for him to guard. Sometimes he's on Chris Paul if needed, but he's out there for his defense, and sometimes he can make some threes. So 39, his price tag is cheap enough to where I will gladly plug him in just because I'm going to need to go cheap at some of these spots, and I think he looks better than Maxey, Milton, and then any of the other guys that are cheaper. If you wanted to go to a more expensive guy, Kevin Huerter is a solid option. He's been awesome shooting the ball so far this couple of games, and with DeAndre Hunter out for the rest of the season, the minutes are going to be there for Kevin Huerter. For Gallinari off the bench. Will Barton is back. He played 15 minutes in that last game. We'll see. He's not going to get up there a ton of minutes. He's missed a lot of time, but maybe he'll creep into the low 20s tonight. Then you can go with Booker if you wanted to, although I will not be doing that. Small forward, we have Michael Porter Jr., who looks appealing at $6,900. He is probable today. Maybe that Q tag scares some people off of him. For some of the value here, you can go with Danny Green potentially at $3,500 or $4,500. And you also have Torrey Craig, who's been seeing pretty decent run for the Suns. He played 17 and 15 minutes, so that's a couple of shifts off the bench. For only being $100 more than a minimum, he's out there for his defense. He can get you some rebounds as well. He's been good with the rebounds in limited time this year. In just 15 minutes, he's averaging 4 rebounds, and he's shooting a decent percentage from 3. Not a lot of great options here in the 3K range, but I think Torrey Craig probably looks better than like Thibault, Snell, and then don't see anybody else really being a factor here. Maybe you can look to Cam Johnson instead. Johnson and Craig are kind of toss-ups. I think Craig might be a little bit of a lower owned play compared to Johnson. Power forward, you have John Collins, who looks great at only $5,800. He is going to get some extra minutes without DeAndre Hunter as long as he's not in foul trouble. Fouled that last game in 35 minutes. But I really don't mind getting to him. He's pretty steady. At least you're looking at least 20s and then into the mid-30s for his floor and upside. Jermichael Green's another great value play. He's only $3,500. I will happily plug him in. He gets you rebounds. Maybe he can flirt with the double-double. Struggled last game, but he's been getting you a lot more minutes than Paul Millsap. Millsap's been in the teens, and whereas Jermichael Green's been in the low 20s. So he's definitely a great option. Maybe you can go Millsap instead if you want it to be a little bit different. Both guys are basically the same salary, and then you have Cam Johnson instead. Over at center, feel like I want to pay up for a couple of centers today. We have 2 of the best centers in the league with Jokic and Embiid. Both. Jokic definitely needs a win, down 2-0. Embiid probably wants to get a win as well in Atlanta in the Game 3. Both guys, especially Embiid, has been unstoppable in his first 2 meetings. Jokic is going to have to put the team on his back. He got the MVP award. going to have to make the most of a team that is desperately missing Jamal Murray and some extra offense, because right now it's basically all on the shoulders of Jokic, and then praying that Austin Rivers Compazzo going to hit some shots. But I think Jokic is going to have a big game at some point. We've seen him put monster triple doubles up. He's probably going to have to take a lot of shots today. I expect him to be super aggressive, and he's at home where he's averaged like 5 more fantasy points, so that is also a good sign. So going with a couple of studs, Embiid, Jokic, and Chris Paul, throwing in some value, still leaves with 57, so you have plenty of room left to maybe plug in Bogdanovich, maybe plug in Herder, plug in John Collins, whoever you like, maybe Gallinari as well. So a lot of good options to fill it out, but these are the 6 that I like. You got your studs and your value plays. So let's talk about FanDuel instead. All right, on FanDuel here, point guard plays, you have Young and Chris Paul are my 2 favorites. Ben Simmons is in there, but he's definitely, with Embiid just dominating, he's not going to get a lot of looks at the basket. And then I think you can look to Payne just because he gives you some upside in case somebody's in foul trouble. And then maybe Milton instead. But I got to go with Chris Paul at $8,200. As shooting guard, we have Bogdanovich, who looks appealing. Booker, also, if you can get up to him in salary. If not, shooting guard is always pretty. You can always go with a couple of cheap plays here. Kevin Huerter looks good at 53. Austin Rivers at only 46. And then you have Torrey Craig at 36. I don't mind punting with Craig, at least at one of these 2 spots. Maybe you can plug in Booker instead, or Booker in your other spot. But feel fine going Craig just because the minutes are going to be there, at least like teens, 15, 16 minutes. And he has been pretty productive, so hopefully that continues. And he's also has some revenge on his mind, going back to Denver. He was with them for a couple years. Small forward, we have Porter. If you wanted to pay up for him, he's the most expensive guy here. Gallo is 54. It's not the worst play, but he's kind of priced where he should be. But there's just not a lot of good options here, so you're probably gonna have to pick between like Gallinari, Danny Green, maybe Porter, and fill out 2 of your spots. Bridges is also in the mix. He had a huge game 1. Game 2, they didn't really need him to do much. He was still fine with 16 real-life points, but the peripheral numbers weren't there. At home here, I'm going to side with Michael Porter Jr. I like the price tag, and they're going to need him to have a big offensive game if they're going to want to get back into the series. Power forward, we have JaMychal Green, $4,200, nice value play. Otherwise, you can go up to a John Collins at $6,500. Collins gives you extra minutes, gives you a bit of a higher ceiling, and then Green makes sense as a punt cheap play. And then last but not least at center, you have Embiid and Jokic. I'll probably get to one of these 2 guys. I expect both to have very good games, but I'll side with Embiid against the Hawks here. They have no answer for him. He's $11K, but I have no problem with it just because there are some value at some other spots that we can be forced into playing, and I want to pay up for Embiid today. So that's it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys get the picks in time before the slate starts. Otherwise, catch you all next time, and good luck today.